When Star Wars Jedi Survivor was released back in April 23, the game suffered from really bad performance on the consoles. The 60 FPS performance mode was more or less unplayable due to a lot of stuttering and terrible screen tearing. And yes, you can use VRR, variable refresh rate, on the consoles, but because the performance mode is so broken, enabling VRR doesn't help much. And now, roughly 2 months later, Respawn Entertainment and Electronic Arts released patch number 6 for the console and PC. Unfortunately, there's nothing mentioned in regards to performance fixes in the patch notes on the consoles. And therefore, I was not expecting any improvements, and after I finished my testing and my recordings, I can clearly say there's really no improvement. And I have to admit that at some point I stopped playing this game because I was waiting for a proper fix for the performance mode. But at this stage I'm not quite sure if there's any point to wait even longer. And in my opinion, the game is very heavy CPU bounded, because this explains why even there is not much going on the graphical side, the game can't hit 60 FPS as seen in this example. But when I do the exact same test in a different area or different location, it is suddenly possible to hit 60 FPS. But I have to admit that I'm not an expert on this, but I think there we have the problem. Because if we would just have a GPU limitation, then we can just reduce resolution or shadow quality or draw distance or stuff like that, and we would have a much higher frame rate. But a CPU limitation is a complete different story. But just forget about for a moment that we might have a CPU limitation as well. The biggest problem what we have in Jedi is the ray tracing option, because this one or this feature is enabled by default. There is no toggle switch to turn it off. And I think it's needless to say that disabling ray tracing would increase the performance in certain areas. And my very own opinion is that there is no place for ray tracing effects on a console, and especially not in a 60 FPS mode. I would say we should leave ray tracing in all its beauty to a powerful PC with a high-end GPU like the 4090. And by the way, and I know that's a little bit off topic, but here in Australia, for the price of a 4090, you can easily buy a PlayStation 5 and an Xbox Series X and a Nintendo Switch, and you still have money left for games. And what I mean with this is that you get what you pay for. A PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X are not meant to compete with a high-end PC. But, and this is my last sentence, we have of course games like Ratchet & Clank, Horizon Forbidden West, Gears 5 or Forza Motorsport on the consoles, and those games are showing very clearly how good games can look if they are well optimized.